Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, I wanna spread your guts on my Christmas tree. It's finally time that I review this movie. Uh, Whereas it's not as good as the original, which I really enjoyed the original a lot. Even though I saw this one first, um, I have to say the original is better because it was the first movie to really do the Santa thing. Now, there probably were other movies before it, but not that I know of because I searched it. Apparently, Silent Night, Deadly Night was the first Killer Santa Claus movie. This, I don't know whether to call it a remake because a lot of people say it's a remake, and it even says on the back it's a pseudo remake. Um, but it's so different from the Silent Night, Deadly Night. There's a scene in it that does a shout out to the original. But anyways, I might as well go through this. There is no Billy. There is no Ricky. There's no sister. There's no sister Sarah. There's no Mother Superior. There's nothing like that. This is its own movie, except for that one little scene, and I'll get to it. Um, the deaths in this are not too graphic. Like some of them are pretty gory, but they're pretty tame. Uh, but it is well deserving of an R rating, which this movie is a hard. It is a hard rating of a rated R movie. You hear fuck a lot. You get sex. You get one sex scene, but you mostly get nudity. It pulls no punches with what it's trying to do. The first the first movie tried to be really controversial with it being a killer Santa Claus. This movie doesn't try to be controversial, but it tries to say, you know what, Silent Night, Deadly Night was a great movie, and we wanna we wanna not make a great movie as great as Silent Night, Deadly Night, but we want to make a great movie of our own. And Stephen C. Miller, who surprisingly he made Automaton Transfusion, and that I liked that movie, and I feel alone on liking that movie. Not a whole lot of people like the movie. Like I searched reviews for that movie, a lot of people hate it. I can see why they hate it, but something about it I like. Now, this movie is definitely better than Automaton Transfusion. So it starts off, we've got this guy, he's shaving, just casually shaving. We got the shaving cream, and he's just shaving like nothing's wrong or anything. And then we see this woman tied up, and she's well trying to scream. Got she's gagged pretty much and tied up, bound and gagged, naked, not full body naked. Just she's in panties and a t-shirt. So you get to see her legs and stuff. Nice legs, by the way. I did like her legs. Um, and what happens is, uh, the guy's in the middle of shaving, and then he in comes in the next shot. We see scissors come in, and he's cutting into a plastic mask. Uh, like a transparent mask. Uh, Shows it on the front. That's a transparent mask. He cuts off the bottom, and then he takes a Santa beard off of a Santa mask. He takes that off, and he glues it to the plastic mask. And that's how you get the iconic mask that is in this film. So it tries to be its own movie, and I like that. Um, it Then we get this shot of a guy. He's tied to a chair, but he's not tied with rope. He's tied with Christmas lights, which you could say that's kind of a shout out to the original, but I don't know because the guy was killed with Christmas lights. Anyways, he's tied up and he's screaming like, "Oh, please, please, please help me! Somebody help me! I didn't know she was married. I didn't know she was married." Talking about the woman who's tied up and gagged. He wants to hear the killer's voice. Like, he's like, "Say something! Say something!" And the killer walks away. He's got an axe in his hand, and he just walks away real casually. And then he drops the axe. You see the switch. He turns it on, and then the guy gets electrocuted. And I'm not going to spoil all of the deaths, but this is the start of the movie, so I'm not spoiling anything since it's the start of the movie. His eyes pop out. Now that might be a shout out to the second film. So there's little subtle hints of the original movies in this, sprinkled throughout this film, so you'll be able to catch it. And sadly, it's done in CGI. You can tell the eyes when they pop, it's done with CGI. But it's a real actor shaking and everything. And I thought they incorporated the CGI with the practical pretty well in this movie. And we cut to the main title, Silent Night. And while all this horrific stuff happened, we're hearing, "Up on the housetop, click, 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 comes old Saint, so yada, 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 Saint Nick." I don't know the song. I never really listened to Christmas music when I was little. I just never really got into Christmas music. I mean, I like the holiday, don't get me wrong, I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite holidays. Halloween is right behind Christmas. Even though Halloween isn't really a holiday. But this movie feels like a Christmas movie too. The first movie felt like a Christmas movie. The second movie didn't feel like a Christmas movie. The third movie didn't feel like a Christmas movie. And the fourth one definitely didn't feel like a Christmas movie. The fifth one, I don't even think it took place on Christmas. But this one feels like a Christmas movie. It takes place in Wisconsin. And I don't know a thing about Wisconsin. Does it snow there? Could somebody tell me that? Because I didn't see a whole lot of snow in this movie. So we cut to another scene. We get introduced to our main character, Abigail. Not Abigail, Aubrey, played very well by the beautiful Jamie King. I like her as an actress. Like, she's not just looks, like, she can act. Like, she's got both the looks and the acting ability, so don't complain. She's got both. And she plays the role of Aubrey Bradamore. She's got kind of a past. Her family's got kind of a past, and uh, I won't say what it is, but it's a pretty cool past, at least in my eyes. But in their eyes, it's supposed to be a pretty dark one. Um, and I think it's supposed to be her first week of working. She's a deputy, and the sheriff, played by Malcolm McDowell, like, you're supposed to both hate him and love to hate him. And some people say he incorporated his Dr. Loomis role from Halloween 2 in this movie. I don't see it because in that movie he was a straight up asshole. In this movie, you can kind of laugh at him. But he tries to be kind of British, but he doesn't have the accent. Like, there's a scene where they end up finding the bodies of the people that were killed at the beginning of the film. He's like, bloody whatever. And then it cuts to another scene, and he's like, this is bloody awful, or something like that. And I'm like, are you trying to be British, man? Because it's not working. Not at all. So anyways, he's he's kind of likable, but at the same time he's dislikable, if that makes sense. And, he's just trying to do his job, and Deputy Bradamore, Jamie King, is just trying to do her job too. And it turns out this guy who got killed was a police officer, and he didn't seem to deserve to die, but messing around with a married woman, it's bounds for sinning, if you want to call it sinning. In my eyes, I don't consider sex a sin. Pornography I do consider a sin, but sex and pornography can be two different things, or they can be the same thing. Your view is different than mine. But anyways, we get a lot of talk and everything. Like, most of this movie is kind of dull. It does drag, but it doesn't feel like a long movie. It feels like a short movie, and it is a short movie. It's only 94 minutes. Yeah, 94 minutes, and it feels like an 82-minute movie. Sorry, I'm moving my mouse trying to get my screen to come on because I want to make sure my video doesn't cut off. Anyways, the next scene, I always say this when it comes to a movie. I don't hate people, but this girl I fucking hated. Ugh. I was just waiting for something to happen to her, and I started to feel a little desensitized with this movie. She is mistreating her mom, and she's like, "You need to take me to the mall." And at first it didn't seem so bad. Then she knocks the pills out. Her mom takes pills, and she knocks them right out of her mom's hand, and I'm like, ugh. If you weren't a kid, I'd be like, ugh. Let's just say I'd be saying some pretty nasty names. Anyways, she's like, "Get your purse, we're going to the mall." I don't believe in Santa Claus. And then a knock ends up happening on the door after her mom unwillingly, goes to get her purse, and get the keys, gonna take this spoiled little brat to the mall. Somebody knocks on the door. It's the Santa Claus, the killer Santa Claus, and she's like, "Salvation fucking Army." And I'm like, "Ooh, you're gonna get it now. You're gonna get it, and I'm not gonna feel any remorse for you." The Santa Claus, she's like, "Got something for me?" And the Santa Claus, you think he's going to bring out a present, but you also know he's a killer, so he ends up grabbing something. It's a fucking cattle prod, and then he electrocutes the girl, and I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Like, it's not an original death, but it's a death that I haven't seen in any movies. So she gets electrocuted, but there's a second part to the death. Kind of like Stitches, how there's two parts to each death. This one had a second part to it, and I'm not going to spoil it. It's not a gory death, but it's a pretty cool death, so you kind of get what's going on with it. Then we cut back to, again, scenes do drag in this movie, so you're just waiting for the Santa to appear again. We get introduced to this asshole named Jimmy, which sadly I know a couple of assholes with the names Jim. So that's kind of weird. Anyways, here's to where we get another shout out to the original. Jimmy is talking with his grandpa, and he's in the middle of talking, and then he just stops talking, and then starts talking again, and while he's talking, he takes all the money out of his grandpa's wallet. And his grandpa happens to be catatonic. And this makes you not care for the dude one little bit, and you're not supposed to care about the people who get killed. So, what happens is, he steals from his grandpa, and his grandpa grabs Jimmy's arm, and he's like, "Christmas is one of the scariest damn nights of the year." And I'm like, okay, taking lines from the original. I'm not mad. I'm just like, really? You had to do that line? And it doesn't play a big role in the movie. That's why I'm like, really? It didn't play a really big role in the movie. Because the movies are not scary. It is fun. It is cool. It's not funny. But it's also definitely not scary. It's cool. It is cool, I will admit that. So anyways, we cut to another scene. We're introduced to Jimmy's girlfriend, Tiffany. I know a lot of Tiffany's, but they're nice. But this Tiffany is a bitch. So, Tiffany is one of the carolers for a church, but she's also supposed to be a pornographic model. There's a difference between a model, in my eyes, between a pornographic model and just a model. So she's a pornographic model. You don't get to see her tits or anything like that, unfortunately. But anyways, she is working with a model agency, and she's sniffing up cocaine, and you don't see it going to her nose or anything, but you get the idea. And again, you hear a knock on the door. But let's rewind a little bit. She leaves, she collects her paycheck or gift from the guy who's taking the photos and everything. So she leaves and bumps into You should know something's up. This part I thought was stupid. You should have known something was gonna be up when a big fella ends up bumping into you, wearing a mask, and carrying a sack which has points coming out of it. And I'm like, oh. So, stupid part number one. There's only two stupid parts about this movie. One being Malcolm McDowell. So anyways, she ends up going to her car and she's like looking up and she's like, creep. And then the Santa goes like, looks back at her real fast, and then it's like, it feels like 2 minutes. Even though it's not actually 2 minutes, it feels kind of like 2 minutes of just him looking at her. And then it cuts to her, and she's like, huh? Then she turns, gets in her car, and leaves. Then he knocks on the door, the woman opens it up, and he takes out a scythe, and BAM! The scythe goes into her stomach. And then it's just complete chaos, and you get one of my favorite scenes. The wood chipper scene. I won't spoil it, but some reviewers have spoiled it, but I'm not going to spoil it. It's a pretty good death. I'll just say that. It's a really cool death that happens to this next chick. The porno model. So, fast forward a little bit, we get some dialogue, yada yada yada. This scene's not too bad. We get introduced to Ellen Wong, which every time I see this movie, I'm like, hot Asian chick, hot Asian chick, hot Asian chick. Right there, right there. Let's watch. Okay, hot Asian chicks off the screen. I don't know, I just... I like Asian women, what can I say? So anyways, what happens is, she's in the middle of talking to the deputy, Jenny King's character, and she has, Jenny King's character, she has an alright family, like, her character has an alright family. I liked them. I liked the dad. I liked the mom. They were both nice. And, she's trying to do a crossword, and then she asks Ellen Wong's character for help. She's like, what's a 6-letter word for, what's another word for a 6-sided object? Or a 6-pointed object, I forget. And Ellen Wong's character says cube, and it's not cube because it has to be Christmas themed, so it's not cube. So, anyways, it's a back and forth type of thing, and we get introduced to Brendan Fehr, who he plays in a movie I like. I actually own it. It's somewhere over in my drawer somewhere. Of a movie called 13 Earring. Brendan Fehr. So I'm like, hey, Brendan Fehr. So, anyways, we get that, and Brendan Fehr seems like a nice guy. Funny too. I laughed at him. Like, a lot of people don't laugh at him, but I laughed. I thought it was a pretty funny scene. They're like, what are you doing here? He's a police officer, so they're joking around with him. And he's like, is that any way to treat somebody who's got you both presents? And then they're like, okay, what's the present? He brings out a mistletoe, and he's like, it's also my Christmas present too. And then he takes the thing down and he ends up sneezing. And I'm like, oh man. You had it right in the bag. Like, it looked like Ellen Wong was about to kiss him. Like, she wasn't making any gestures. Like, she was smiling a little bit. Like, but then when he sneezes, she's like, no, thank you. And I'm like, yeah, I will admit that's pretty funny. Like, whenever Brendan Fehr was on screen, I was just like laughing at him, and I thought he was a nice guy. He wasn't annoying. He was actually genuinely a nice guy. Most of the time, when somebody is a nice guy in a movie, they're annoying. But this guy was just plain nice. He wasn't weird. He was just nice. So we get introduced to Brendan Fehr's character, and I forget what his name is. I wish I could remember what his character's name is. Anyways, we get some back and forth between the three of them: Brendan Fehr, Jamie King, and Ellen Wong. And then they start asking, "Where's the sheriff at?" And then Jamie King gets told, well, the sheriff's over at the house where the kill at the beginning of the film took place. So they head over there. Well, Jamie King's character heads over there, and they're talking about the death and everything. I'm going all over the place, sorry, but anyways, Malcolm McDowell and Jamie King are talking about the death, and Malcolm McDowell's like, this woman was fucking the whole town, pretty much. And here's where we get a cool scene. We've realized what happened to the woman who was bound and tied up. I mean, bound and gagged. If I could learn to talk, it would go a lot more smoothly. Anyways, she got turned into a doll. She got cut to pieces and turned into a little doll. It kind of reminded me of the scene from Simon Says, which is another great movie. I suggest horror fans check it out. You'll either like it or you'll hate it. I liked it. It's a Crispin Glover film, but it's a cool one. Not as good as Willard, but still a cool movie. But anyways, it reminded me of Simon Says a little bit. So anyways, we get that scene, and then we get a scene of a phone ringing, and then Jamie King opens up the drawer, and it's a hand. The phone is ringing, and it's underneath a severed hand. And I'm like, hey, good practical effects, I'll give it that. Good practical effects, but I will admit, there is some CGI, but not in this scene, thankfully. So, anyways, we fast forward a little bit more, and then we get the wood chipper scene, which, like I said, that's a really fun scene. I won't spoil it. I'll just say it's a good wood chipper scene. So, anyways, we then get introduced to Donald Logue. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, too. I'm like, hey, Donald Logue. It even says on the front cover, Donald Logue is in the movie. This does have some familiar faces in it, so I appreciate that. Stephen C. Miller, I thank you, man. You got good actors. You got a good story going on. You kept me entertained. And the actors and actresses kept me entertained too. Like, I don't think I found one bad actor or actress in this scene. Even the little kids, they had some good back and forths too. Even the little girl, which I'll get to. We get introduced to the mayor. He seems pretty nice. Well, I think he's the mayor, but the character's name happens to be Mayor. So, anyways, we get introduced to him. He's got a little girl, and the little girl seems nice. Not spoiled like the 14-year-old brat who got killed, but she seems nice, so you know right away she's gonna end up living. And the mayor, he gets killed, and I'm like, why on earth would he get killed? He wasn't a sinner. He wasn't an asshole. He was just smoking. In the scene where he dies, he's just smoking. Smoking a cigarette, doing nothing wrong. So, anyways, he gets killed. Way later in the film. Gets killed with a scene that, again, gets a throwback from the original film. And I like the throwbacks in this film. He gets choked with Christmas lights. So, anyways, that's much later on in the film, though. So, we get introduced to the mayor and everything, and then we get introduced to Donald Logue's character, which he's supposed to be an unlikable Santa figure, a department store Santa that you hate. So what happens is you like him and you hate him. So he's like to Jamie King, because Jamie King's asking him all these questions like, where have you been, what's happening, who are you, what's this, what's that, and then he's like, well, on Easter I'm the Easter Bunny, on Halloween I'm Halloweeny, a ghost, and on Christmas I'm Santa Claus. And what do you want for Christmas? A pony? And just the way he says it, I laugh. And it's meant to make you laugh. And these jokes work. Like, most of the time when comedy horrors do the jokes, they're either unfunny or they're funny. Here, this is not a comedy horror, folks. But it does have some comedy in it. Very little, though, but it's there. So, anyways, we get introduced to Donald Logue's character. Santa Jim is his name. Jim Epplestein, or Jim Edelstein, however you pronounce it. Epplestein, Edelstein, Epleston, whatever you want to say. It's either a P or a D, I forget. Anyways, fast forward a little bit, after all the sex scenes are all done and everything. The porno, shoot, whatever. Oh, and I should point out, before the wood chipper scene, the girl falls on, into a trash can. It's done in some really bad CGI. Like, she's falling in... It felt like the scenery was moving. She wasn't moving, but the scenery was moving to give it, like, a falling effect. And I'm like, if you were trying to give it a falling effect, it didn't work. So, after that's all done, after we've been introduced to Donald Logue, pretty much Malcolm McDowell and Jamie King's character, they're trying to figure out who's this killer going, what's this killer doing, and how can we stop him? So they're trying to figure out who the killer is. And the killer happens to leave his mark, or pretty much his motive, which, of course, he's a killer Santa. And what do Santa Clauses do? They judge who's naughty and who's nice. Well, his mark is pretty much laying gifts of coal. And they're wrapped in the same wrapping paper, red and white. And they're striped with little snowflakes. And so, and they're kind of overwrapped with tinsel, with green and a little bit of red and silver, like silverish gold type of stuff. So that's his like, it's his mark. So anyways, they're trying to track down the Santa, and we fast forward to night, and this takes place within a matter of one night, hence the name Silent Night. Of course, it's gotta be a tribute to Silent Night, Deadly Night, hence it being kind of a remake, but not really. So, we get to nighttime, and Jimmy and Tiffany are going to have sex, and I should point out, Tiffany is the mayor's daughter. Like I said, I think it's the mayor. But Tiffany and Jimmy are boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're in the middle of having sex. Well, weird kind of sex. Well, not weird, but kind of like a yeah. So, she's giving him a blowjob, and I'm just like, this is a sorry excuse for a blowjob scene if I've ever seen a blowjob scene. I'm just like, I feel kind of uncomfortable. Laughing, but uncomfortable. So, what happens next is they're in the middle of she's in the middle of giving him a blowjob, and she's like, "Have you been a good Santa? It's about time I give you a present. You've done enough for a while." And I'm like, Christmas movies, Christmas horror movies. How you have been? You're either good or you're bad. A good movie or a bad movie. A good Christmas movie or a bad Christmas horror movie. But this is a good Christmas horror movie. I like it. Rainbow Rap for Life, he didn't like it, which is totally understandable, man. I understand, man. I understand why you didn't like it. But I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. So, anyways, we get that scene all well and good. Then we get another throwback scene. The antler death. Great death. Gory, practical, in some way, really, really bloody. Like, when it goes in, you get to see where the antlers go in and come out. So, we get to see the piercing of the skin, we get to see the blood. Oh, and before that, leading up to it, the Santa throws the axe, and somehow or another, he must have great precision. And I'm not saying that's stupid. Cuts her tendon perfectly. And then she's like, ah, ah. And then he picks her up, shoves her into the antlers. So we get the antler death. So we fast forward. Jamie King and Malcolm McDowell think they've found their bad Santa, which happens to be this weird bald guy. So, and they know that the Santa wears a mask. Right here. They know that the Santa's wearing a mask, and yet they think this guy who doesn't look like they think he's killed somebody, but yet he's not wearing a mask, he's just eating a burger. And then we get this weird scene. It's not a stupid scene, it's just weird. He's eating his burger, and then here's why I say it's weird. after he's done eating his burger, I just wanted to punch him in his mouth. But anyways, uh, he is talking with Jamie King, and Jamie King's like asking him all these questions, and then he starts telling this story about a killing in a small town that took place many years ago, and it was a killer Santa Claus with a flamethrower. Different Santa Claus, but it leads up to the ending. It's not the ending, but it leads up to the ending. So, anyways, what happens next? He gets his phone tapped, and this is why I thought the scene was weird. He gets mad. He's like, why did you put a tab out on me? Like, he didn't say those lines, but I'm like, okay. Ease back a little bit. Ease back. Just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So, anyways, he pretty much gets all ragged off about being tapped, which I would be too, getting accused of something I didn't do. So it's not a completely weird scene, but I'm just like weirded out, but understanding. So he ends up pulling a knife out on her. The fight breaks out between Jamie King and this weird guy who's being accused of killing people. And when you're accused of killing people, the worst thing you want to do is pull a knife out on a cop. That's only going to make things worse on yourself. He slices into her, like no incisions or anything, like ends up stabbing her, slicing her, whatever. And then Jimmy King is like, ah! And he's on top of her and about to put the knife right into her again. And then he gets shot at, and then he runs off. And Malcolm McDowell's trying to be funny, and I'm like, okay, Malcolm McDowell, you're trying to be funny. Some moments he's working, and other times it's not working. And I'm just like, this time you're not working. So anyways, they think they've had their guy, and then I'm going all over the place, I'm sorry. Like I said, some of these deaths have two parts, some don't. The antler death, that had two parts. That was probably my favorite death. Not the antler part, but when the boyfriend dies, because the boyfriend dies with the axe to the head. The head explodes, and you get a really, really gory death. And I applauded that so much. I'm like, yeah, practical, bloody, gory, and I loved it. So, anyways, fast forwarding yet again with the fight between Jamie King and the weird accusations of the Santa Claus. Anyways, sorry about being all over the place. I'm really tired. Anyways, what happens next? I'm trying to move this review as fast as I can, like chop with it, because I want people to see this movie. I really do. Like, I think you guys should check it out. If you're a fan of Silent Night, Deadly Night, I think you'll really enjoy this. So, anyways, fast forward to the scene in the... I'm skipping over some scenes because I want to get to the climax. They find out they've got the wrong guy. Even though he's stabbed the guy, he should at least go to jail for that. But anyways, now they're chasing him because he did that. They finally catch up to him, and then it turns out he's going to be the next victim. He has got the mark, he's marked for death with the motive of, like, the mark of the killer Santa Claus, like he's gonna be next. So he's got the present and everything, and we don't see that until it's too late. Shot in the head. Jamie King shoots him in the head, and I'm like, how is... So was it like Jamie King supposed to be the killer Santa now? And I'm just like, okay. I mean, I'm not accusing her of being the killer Santa Claus, but I'm like, man, well, that's a coincidence. And then we fast forward. Malcolm McDowell seems to think that Donald Logue is the killer Santa Claus because he's pretty nasty and everything. Donald Logue's character. He is put in jail, and he's just blasting out all these obscenities, one after another. And he gets put in jail. He gets, of course, arrested and everything. And the killer Santa Claus ends up coming in, axe in hand, about ready to kill some people. Sorry, had to itch my nose. Anyways, after all that gross out stuff with my nose, anyways, Donald Logue ends up blasting out all these absurdities, or absurdities, whatever. The killer Santa Claus ends up coming in, going after Malcolm McDowell, and Malcolm McDowell says this stupid line, "You should have never brought it. You should know that you never bring a flamethrower to a gunfight." And because the Santa Claus has a flamethrower, ends up putting Malcolm McDowell, killing him with the flamethrower. So we get that. And that's where I'll try to end it, because I don't want to spoil the ending. That's where we get led up to the ending, and I'm not going to spoil it because I want people to see this movie. I probably turned some people off from seeing this movie, but if I did, that was not my intention. But I seriously think you should see this movie. If I did interest you with seeing this, then thanks. I feel like I've done my job. But if I didn't, I'm sorry. This does have blood, this does have guts, this does have nudity, this does have... It's got its violence, it's got its ups, it's got its downs. I really enjoyed it. And what do I give it? I give it an 8 out of 10. Even though it's got some bad points, it's got a lot of good points, too. The killer is awesome, and he's kind of intimidating, too. There's the back of it. The flamethrower bringing out the pictures. There's the Santa Claus right there. I don't think you can make it out too much, but he's holding the flamethrower. And on the front, if anybody's curious, it says he knows who's been naughty. And he says a line in the movie, and he's got a really deep voice. He's like, naughty. Well, he doesn't say naughty, he's like, not nice. And I'm like, ooh, that's cool. There are so many other deaths too. Like, I don't want to spoil all the deaths. I want people to see the movie, like I said. So, great Christmas horror movie. Just great Christmas horror at its finest. Not as good as the original, but it's a great movie in its own right. Some people will hate it, some people will like it. This is way better than Automaton Transfusion, I'll just say that. But great Christmas horror movie. Anyways, 8 out of 10. Check it out. Silent Night. 2012. Look it up. I'll leave a link to the trailer in the description. And I'll also try to leave a link to Rainbow Afterlife's rant on this movie. He didn't like it. OCP Communications, he liked it. And OCP Communications is a great guy, like I said too. And OCP Communications and Rainbow Afterlife, they're friends, and they're both great reviewers. And they both reviewed this film. But I'll probably leave a link to both of their reviews. He liked it, but Rainbow Raft didn't like it. And that's it. I thought this movie was awesome. So, 8 out of 10. Check it out. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth the look. And definitely I applaud the effects. Because the deaths, the effects, the acting, so much good things about this movie. Yeah, it drags, but it goes by at a good pace. 94 minutes, a good time length, and so many good points, very little bad points. So, Silent Night, check it out. I'm out. And before I forget, Merry Christmas Eve, because by the time I'm recording this, it is 5 o'clock in the morning, and it is the 24th, Christmas Eve. So, anyways, I'm out, and I'll be back with a review for Black Christmas on Christmas Day, or Christmas night, whenever I get home. So, anyways, peace. Hopefully you enjoyed my tired little review of Silent Night. Like I said, I'm tired and I was all over the place. That's why I was all over the place. I'm tired, like I said. So, anyways, 8 out of 10. Check it out. Silent Night. So, peace. Merry Christmas.